This recipe is easy homemade potato latkes. Some people also pronounce them Latkes. They're also known as fritters or potato pancakes, and they're traditionally Jewish, served around the Hanukkah holiday. So I'm just chopping up some parsley. This is Italian parsley. You can use curly parsley. You can leave out the parsley if you like. And then I'm going to, this is half an onion, a half of a smaller onion, and I'm going to quarter that. If you're sensitive to onion, just use half of that, so a quarter of a smaller onion. Beat up a couple of eggs. This is 2 eggs. This recipe is online. And then this is about 3 pounds or 2 pounds of potatoes. So that's about 3 russet potatoes. And russet potatoes are good. They have a high level of starch, so that'll make them a little bit easier to stick together. So I'm going to half up these potatoes. I'm going to run them through a food processor. You could also use a box grater. Just be careful with your knuckles. You don't want bloody potato latkes. So I like to run everything just through the food processor really fast, the onions and the potatoes. And I'm going to set that aside and grab a salad spinner. You can also use a colander. I think using a colander, if you don't have a salad spinner, is probably just a good idea because right away it lets go of some liquid, and you want to try to get rid of as much liquid as possible. So I'm going to squeeze out a bunch of the liquid, and I'm also going to salad spin it, but it's not as important because I will have to run it through a cheesecloth or a towel. There's going to be some liquid underneath. If it has a bunch of starch in it, you can throw it back in, but this doesn't look like it's got enough of the starch, so I'm just going to leave it be. Wrap it up in a kitchen towel or cheesecloth and squeeze out as much water as possible. Really put some muscle into that. These are pretty easy, but this is, a little bit of work right here. I'm going to put all of this into a bowl and mix all of the ingredients in. So that's already got the potatoes and the onions. I'm going to throw in some of the parsley and the eggs and some all-purpose flour. Traditionally, matzo flour is used. A lot of times we can't find that. So I'm just using what I have, which is all-purpose flour. I'm sure you could probably use some gluten-free flour too, but I haven't tried it. So I'm going to form these into little disc shapes, and I don't want them too thick or too thin, but you can just play around with that. They're maybe less than 1/4 of an inch. Basically, you just want them crispy on the outside and still soft on the inside. So if you do make them thicker, you'll have to cook them longer at a lower heat. Moving over to the stovetop, I've got a cast iron skillet and I'm adding some oil. And this oil is maybe 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. You'll add more if you need it, if there needs to be oil in the pan. Also, I've got a splatter guard there just in case any grease splatter starts happening. So bring this oil up to a medium-high heat, and you're going to have to play with it. You'll start to see after about 2 minutes the edges browning. Some stove tops, like my stove, is uneven, so that side that I'm flipping first is the side that cooks the fastest. So about 2 minutes you flip, and then you flip again after about 2 minutes. You can sort of add more in as you see some come out. And when I'm pulling them up here, I am showing you, but I'm also just checking underneath to see if it's brown. I'll lay it on a wired rack over a sheet pan. You can also lay it on some paper towels on a plate. And that is it. You'll serve this as is with some sour cream with garnish of extra parsley or with applesauce. And you can find the full recipe at eatsimplefood.com.